7 Ways Narcissists Behave Like Demons. Have you ever felt drained, as if your life energy was being sapped? That eerie sensation when a person leaves you feeling confused and questioning your own reality is all too real. What if I told you there's a reason why we often describe narcissists as soul suckers or emotional vampires? Have you noticed how after interactions with certain people, you feel utterly depleted, yet can't exactly pinpoint why? The parallel between narcissistic behavior and demonic traits goes deeper than metaphor. It's a framework that might finally help you make sense of the chaos you've been experiencing. Understanding this connection could be the key to reclaiming your peace. The unsettling reality of narcissistic relationships. Have you ever walked away from someone feeling completely drained, like something vital was taken from you? Not just tired from a difficult conversation, but empty in a way that feels almost physical. Your energy gone, your confidence shattered, your sense of reality blurred. This isn't the normal fatigue that comes after dealing with difficult people. This is something deeper and more disturbing. And if you've experienced it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Relationships with narcissists create a unique kind of emotional wound. You might find yourself searching for words to explain what happened, but nothing quite captures the experience. You tell friends, "I don't know, there's just something wrong about how they treat me." But that doesn't begin to describe the depth of your confusion and pain. When you try to explain these interactions to others who haven't experienced narcissistic abuse, they often respond with well-meaning but unhelpful advice like "stand up for yourself" or "don't let them get to you." These comments only deepen your isolation because they reveal that others don't understand your reality. As Sarah, one of my clients, described it, "I would leave conversations with my ex feeling like I couldn't trust my own memories. He'd deny saying things I clearly heard him say hours earlier. Friends told me to just communicate better, but they didn't understand I was living in a completely different world with him." This isolation leads to profound self-doubt. Maybe you are too sensitive. Maybe you are overreacting. Maybe this is just how relationships work, and you need to toughen up. This self-doubt is exactly what the narcissist wants. It's part of their strategy to keep you confused and under control. The truth is that narcissistic abuse feels different because it is different. There's a reason why many survivors, therapists, and researchers turn to powerful metaphors to describe these interactions. When someone says dealing with a narcissist feels like a demonic experience, they're trying to capture something that goes beyond normal human selfishness or conflict. This comparison isn't meant to be literal. I'm not suggesting narcissists are actual demons or possessed by supernatural forces. Rather, this framework gives us language for feelings and experiences that otherwise seem impossible to describe. There are patterns in narcissistic behavior that match up with what many cultures throughout history have described as demonic influence, manipulation, deception, energy draining, and a strange emptiness behind the eyes. When you start to recognize these patterns, something powerful happens. The confusion begins to clear. You realize that your perceptions weren't wrong after all. The strange, unsettling feelings you had were your intuition trying to protect you. The behavior you experienced wasn't normal, and your reactions were completely reasonable. This validation is often the first step toward healing. When you can name what happened to you, when you can identify specific tactics and patterns, you take back your power to define your own reality. The narcissist no longer gets to tell you what you experienced or how you should feel about it. Many survivors describe an almost physical sense of relief when they first learn about narcissistic behavior patterns. "That's exactly what happened to me," they say. "I'm not crazy after all." This recognition doesn't immediately heal all wounds, but it opens the door to recovery by confirming that your perceptions were accurate all along. Why do some people describe dealing with a narcissist as a demonic experience? Because these interactions violate our most basic human expectations in ways that feel unnatural and deeply disturbing. Normal human connections involve empathy, mutual respect, and basic honesty, even in conflict. But narcissistic relationships lack these fundamental qualities, creating an eerie sense that you're dealing with something that doesn't follow the usual rules of human interaction. The narcissist seems to understand human emotions, not to connect with you, but to exploit them. They observe your reactions with a cold detachment that feels predatory. They can cause immense pain and show no remorse. They can look you in the eye and deny something you both know is true. They can show affection in one moment and cruel indifference the next. These behaviors create a sense that something is profoundly wrong, something that goes beyond normal human failings. This inhuman quality makes narcissistic abuse particularly traumatic. Your brain can't process or predict their behavior using your normal understanding of human psychology. The inconsistency keeps you constantly off balance. You can't reason with them because they aren't operating from the same reality. You can't appeal to their empathy because they don't experience it the way you do. Over time, this state of confusion and emotional manipulation takes a serious toll. Your nervous system stays on high alert. Your brain works overtime trying to make sense of contradictory messages. Your self-trust erodes as the narcissist convinces you that your perceptions are wrong. These effects aren't just emotional, they're physiological. Your body is responding to a threat it can't quite identify. The demonic comparison helps explain why narcissistic abuse feels so different from other relationship problems. Their behavior seems to operate outside normal human patterns in ways that feel almost supernatural in their ability to cause harm. For many survivors, this framework provides a map through the confusion. It validates the sense that something unnatural is happening. And most importantly, it helps you see that the problem isn't your perception, it's their behavior. As we explore the 7 specific behaviors that create this demonic-like experience, you'll likely recognize patterns that have been causing you pain. Each behavior builds on the others, creating a system of control that can feel impossible to escape. But understanding these tactics is the first step to breaking free. At the foundation of all narcissistic strategies is deception. Like the archetypal trickster, the narcissist uses lies and manipulation to create an alternate reality, one where they're always right, always the victim, and always in control. Let's look more closely at how this deception works. Masters of deception. Reality distortion. What if the person closest to you was constantly rewriting your reality, making you question your own memories? Imagine hearing your partner say something hurtful, only to have them look you in the eye hours later and claim they never said it. You remember it clearly, the words, the tone, even where you were standing. But they deny it with such conviction that you start to wonder if you imagined the whole thing. Narcissists create an alternate reality through consistent, deliberate lies and manipulation. They construct an entire false world and expect you to live in it. What makes this deception so powerful is its systematic and intentional nature. The narcissist lies when it serves their need to maintain control and superiority. They lie when the truth would make them look bad. They lie when reality doesn't match the image they want to project. They create layers of deception that become nearly impossible to unravel. "I never said that" becomes their standard response. Even when you're certain of what was said, you might reference a conversation where they promised something important, only to be met with absolute denial, as if the exchange never happened. Like a skilled magician directing attention away from their sleight of hand, the narcissist redirects your focus, making you doubt the evidence of your own experience. What's most unsettling is how convincing they are. When a narcissist denies reality, they often do it while looking you directly in the eye, with absolute certainty in their voice. There's no shifty glance or nervous fidgeting that might signal dishonesty. They rewrite history with complete confidence, as if their version of events is the only possible truth. You might observe them tell one person one version of a story, then tell another person something completely different, appearing equally sincere both times. They don't experience the discomfort most people would feel when telling significant lies. Instead, they seamlessly adapt to whatever narrative serves them in the moment. This constant reality manipulation creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, a state of mental discomfort caused by holding contradictory beliefs. You know what you experienced, but someone you trust is telling you something different. Your brain struggles to reconcile these opposing truths, creating confusion and self-doubt. Over time, you start questioning your own memory and perception. Did I really hear that? Maybe I misunderstood. This self-doubt is exactly what the narcissist wants. It makes you easier to control when you no longer trust your own mind. The effects go beyond momentary confusion. Living in this state of constantly questioned reality changes how your brain processes information. You become hypervigilant, trying to catch and remember every detail so you can't be fooled again. But the narcissist simply denies the new evidence too, leaving you exhausted and unsure of anything. This form of psychological manipulation has a name: gaslighting. The term comes from a 1944 film where a husband deliberately dims the gaslights in their home, then tells his wife she's imagining the change. It's a particularly insidious form of abuse because it targets your basic ability to trust your own perceptions. What's striking is how closely this behavior matches descriptions of demonic deception found in cultural and religious traditions worldwide. Across different societies, demons are commonly portrayed as masters of illusion, who twist reality and lead people away from truth. They're described as beings who can appear sincere while speaking falsehoods, who know human weaknesses and exploit them with calculated precision. These parallels reflect a fundamental human experience of encountering manipulation that feels beyond normal human behavior, something that violates our basic expectations of honesty and shared reality in ways that feel almost supernatural. This reality distortion also serves to isolate you from others. When you try to explain what's happening to friends or family, the stories might sound unbelievable. Are you sure you're not misremembering? They might ask. Or worse, that doesn't sound like them at all. They're always so nice when I see them. The narcissist often presents a completely different face to the outside world, appearing charming and reasonable to everyone else. This creates a painful isolation where you're the only one who sees their true behavior and no one believes your experience. You might eventually stop trying to explain, cutting yourself off from potential support and becoming more dependent on the narcissist's version of reality. Even mental health professionals can sometimes miss what's happening. Without witnessing the behavior firsthand, a therapist might focus on helping you manage your reactions rather than identifying the manipulation causing them. This unintentionally reinforces the message that the problem lies with you rather than with the narcissist's deception. So what makes narcissists such masterful deceivers? For most people, there's a shared understanding that objective truth exists. Even if we sometimes disagree about details, we generally try to align our statements with what we believe to be true. But for narcissists, truth is whatever serves their needs in the moment. They don't experience the internal conflict most people would feel when deliberately distorting facts. Their primary reality is emotional. How something makes them feel is more important than what actually happened. If denying something maintains their control, that denial becomes their truth. This is a fundamentally different relationship with reality itself. The narcissist isn't simply telling untruths. They're creating an alternate world where they are always right, always superior, and never responsible for harm. Their conviction comes from genuinely believing in this constructed reality, at least in the moment they're speaking. What enables this reality distortion is their profound lack of empathy. Without the ability to truly understand or care about your emotional experience, they face no internal barrier to manipulating your perception. They don't feel genuine remorse about the confusion and self-doubt they create. because they can't fully comprehend the damage they're causing. This empathy void is the foundation that makes all their manipulative tactics possible and effective. In our next section, we'll explore this disturbing emptiness that allows narcissists to cause harm without remorse. The cold detachment that makes interactions with them feel so profoundly different from normal relationship difficulties. The empathy void in human detachment. Imagine looking into someone's eyes during their cruelest moment and seeing nothing but cold calculation behind their tears. They're crying, but something feels off. The tears seem to appear right on cue, and their eyes remain strangely empty. It's a moment that sends a chill down your spine, because you're witnessing something that doesn't align with normal human behavior. In healthy human relationships, empathy creates a natural bond between people. When someone you care about is hurting, you feel a genuine pull to comfort them. When they share good news, you experience real happiness for their success. This emotional mirroring happens automatically. It's built into our nervous systems and brain functioning. From infancy, humans are wired to connect with and respond to others' emotional states. We wince when we see someone get hurt. We smile when we see others laughing. This shared emotional experience forms the foundation of human connection. But narcissists operate fundamentally differently. While they can observe emotions in others, they don't truly feel them. This difference goes beyond simple selfishness or self-focus that we all experience sometimes. A selfish person might choose their needs over yours while still understanding and feeling bad about your disappointment. A narcissist doesn't register your emotional experience as real or important. What makes this so confusing is that narcissists can appear empathetic when it benefits them. They might say all the right words, mimic concerned facial expressions, or even shed tears that look genuine. They learn these responses by watching others and practicing what works to get the reaction they want. But these displays aren't connected to authentic feeling. They're strategic performances designed to manipulate your response. You might notice this disconnect in subtle ways. They may say sympathetic things, but quickly shift the conversation back to themselves. They might express concern when others are watching, but show irritation once you're alone. Their comforting words often feel rehearsed or hollow, as if they're reading from a script rather than speaking from the heart. This capacity to mimic empathy while lacking the genuine feeling is what makes narcissists so dangerous. They can cause tremendous harm without experiencing the remorse or guilt that would normally prevent such behavior. Without empathy as an internal brake, there's no emotional consequence to hurting you. They can lie, manipulate, betray, and abandon without the emotional distress most people would feel after causing such pain. Think about how this works in practice. When you hurt someone you care about and see their pain, you naturally feel bad. This discomfort motivates you to apologize, make amends, and avoid causing similar harm in the future. But narcissists don't experience this emotional feedback loop. They might apologize if they think it will benefit them, but there's no genuine remorse driving that apology and no internal motivation to change their behavior. A narcissist's empathy is like a mirror that only reflects their own image, while normal empathy acts as a window into another person's emotional world. The narcissist version simply bounces back to themselves. Their apparent concern always circles back to how situations affect them, how they appear to others, or what they might gain or lose. The reflection never truly captures your feelings, only their own needs reflected back. This empathy void explains why victims often describe an eerie emptiness behind the narcissist's eyes. This isn't imagination, it's recognition of a fundamental absence in the expected human connection. Studies show differences in brain activity in people with narcissistic traits, particularly in regions responsible for emotional processing and empathy. The damage this causes to those in relationship with narcissists is profound. When your feelings are consistently unrecognized or dismissed, you start to question their validity. You might begin to think your emotional needs are unreasonable, or that you're overreacting to mistreatment. Over time, this erodes your self-trust and emotional security. Children raised by narcissistic parents face even more serious consequences. A child's developing brain requires emotional attunement to form healthy attachment patterns. Without this mirroring from caregivers, children can develop lasting difficulties with emotional regulation and self-worth. They grow up without a solid sense of being seen, understood, and valued. What makes this empathy void particularly devastating is how it combines with the narcissist's acute awareness of your vulnerabilities. While they can't feel your emotions, they can observe them with remarkable precision. They notice what hurts you, what makes you feel insecure, what triggers your fear or shame. They catalog these reactions to use this information when it serves their purposes. This combination, emotional detachment paired with keen observation of others' emotions, creates the predatory quality many victims describe. The narcissist can target your deepest insecurities with surgical precision while remaining unmoved by your distress. They can provoke intense emotional reactions in you while staying coldly strategic. So how can you tell the difference between normal selfishness and the narcissist's lack of empathy? The key lies in patterns over time. Everyone acts selfishly sometimes, but healthy people show consistency in their capacity for empathy across different contexts. They demonstrate genuine remorse when they hurt others. They show happiness for others' success even when it doesn't benefit them directly. Narcissists only show caring behaviors when it advances their interests. Their concern vanishes the moment it becomes inconvenient. Their support comes with strings attached. Their apologies lack follow-through in changed behavior. They become openly hostile when you ask for emotional support that doesn't somehow center their needs or image. This empathy void creates the foundation for perhaps the most confusing aspect of narcissistic relationships: the stark contrast between their cold private indifference and their warm public charm. This extraordinary charm serves as the perfect cover for their emotional emptiness. Because they appear so caring and attentive in certain contexts, you doubt your own perceptions when you experience their cruelty. This contradiction between their public persona and private reality is the source of the profound confusion so many victims experience. Setting the stage for the seductive illusion we'll explore next: seductive charm, the perfect disguise. Why do the most dangerous narcissists often seem like the most charming people you'll ever meet? That question haunts many survivors who still struggle to understand how someone so initially wonderful turned into someone so harmful. The truth is that charm serves as the perfect cover for manipulation, and narcissists are masters at using it. Think about your first encounters with a narcissist in your life. They likely appeared more engaging, attentive, and charismatic than anyone you'd met before. Their smile lit up the room. Their attention made you feel like the most important person in the world. Their stories captivated everyone around them. They seemed to understand you in ways no one else ever had. This extraordinary charm isn't accidental. It's a carefully crafted tool. Narcissists develop this charm because it works so effectively at getting them what they want: admiration, control, and access to your emotional resources. Many narcissists have spent years perfecting their public persona, learning exactly what behaviors win people over and which stories earn sympathy or respect. The most dangerous aspect of this charm is how genuine it appears. When a narcissist focuses their full attention on you, the experience can feel magical. They maintain perfect eye contact. They remember details about your life that even close friends might forget. They seem deeply interested in your thoughts and feelings. This intense focus creates a powerful sense of connection that can be almost addictive. This charm can be incredibly alluring, effectively trapping unsuspecting individuals within a web of manipulation and deceit. As researchers have noted, you aren't silly for falling for it. It's specifically designed to bypass your normal defenses. The early phase of a relationship with a narcissist often involves what therapists call lovebombing, an overwhelming display of affection, attention, and apparent devotion. They text constantly. They plan elaborate dates. They shower you with meaningful gifts. They talk about your future together when you've barely started dating. They seem to anticipate your needs before you even express them. Consider Sarah, who met a charming colleague at work. He remembered her coffee order after just one mention, sent thoughtful messages throughout the day, and made her feel truly seen. 6 months later, after she was emotionally invested, his attentiveness vanished. The warm texts stopped. Criticism replaced compliments, and the person who once seemed perfect now mocked her for expecting the same attention he had trained her to crave. This intensity feels wonderful at first. Who doesn't want to feel completely seen, valued, and cherished? The love bombing creates a powerful emotional high, flooding your brain with dopamine and creating a sense that you've found something rare and special. Your friends might comment on how happy you seem or how you're glowing lately. Narcissists study their targets with remarkable attention. They watch your reactions and adjust their approach accordingly. They notice what compliments make you light up. They pay attention to your insecurities and dreams. If you mention childhood wounds, they position themselves as the healing force you've always needed. If you value intelligence, they showcase their knowledge. If you appreciate kindness, they perform charitable acts for you to witness. Through this careful observation, narcissists become the perfect mirror of your deepest desires. The allure of this charm is often rooted in the narcissist's ability to mirror the desires and needs of their target, creating an illusion of a perfect connection. They shape themselves into exactly what you're looking for: the perfect partner, friend, boss, or teacher who seems to understand you completely. This shape-shifting ability parallels how predators in nature disguise themselves to lure prey. Just as the anglerfish dangles its luminescent lure, swaying hypnotically in the darkness until smaller fish swim directly into its waiting jaws, narcissists display a bright, attractive persona that conceals their true intentions. The charm is bait designed to draw you closer until you're emotionally invested enough that leaving becomes painfully difficult. What makes this disguise particularly effective is how dramatically it contrasts with the narcissist's private behavior. The person who seemed endlessly patient in public might rage over minor inconveniences at home. The partner who praises you around friends might criticize everything about you when you're alone. The boss who appears supportive in team meetings might undermine your work when no one's watching. This stark difference between public charm and private cruelty creates deep confusion. You start to doubt your perceptions because no one else sees what you see. Friends who only witness the narcissist's public persona can't understand your complaints. They always seem so nice, they say, inadvertently making you question your own experience. The most painful aspect of this false charm is how it gradually disappears once the narcissist feels they've secured your attachment. The changes might be subtle at first: fewer compliments, less interest in your day, small criticisms that seem reasonable, but over time, the mask slips more frequently and for longer periods. The warm, attentive person who pursued you so intensely starts to seem like a distant memory. This slow transformation is often so gradual that you don't notice it happening. Like the proverbial frog in slowly heating water, you adapt to each small decrease in kindness until you're accepting behavior you never would have tolerated. At the beginning, you make excuses for their coldness. You work harder to earn back their attention. You blame yourself for the change in their behavior. The emotional whiplash between the loving persona and the cold reality creates a powerful trauma bond. You become attached not to who they truly are, but to who they pretended to be. And you keep hoping that person will return if you just try hard enough. When true warmth comes from real emotional investment, it sustains itself naturally and grows deeper over time. But the narcissist charm requires constant effort to maintain because it doesn't flow from authentic caring. Once they believe they've secured your attachment, the exhausting performance becomes unnecessary and the mask begins to slip. This false charm specifically targets your emotional dependency. By creating an initial experience of perfect understanding and validation, the narcissist positions themselves as the source of your emotional well-being. The intensity of positive feelings during the love-bombing phase creates a powerful association. The narcissist equals happiness, security, and fulfillment. Emotional vampirism, feeding on your energy. Have you noticed how some people leave you feeling exhausted while they seem energized after your interactions? That bone-deep fatigue that comes after spending time with certain individuals isn't ordinary social tiredness. You walk away feeling depleted, as if something vital has been drained from you, while they appear strangely revitalized. This energy exchange is at the heart of what many survivors call emotional vampirism. It describes a real psychological phenomenon where narcissists actually feed off your emotional energy, drawing strength from your reactions while leaving you empty. Like a battery being drained to power someone else's device, your vitality diminishes while theirs increases. Unlike normal relationships where energy flows back and forth in a balanced exchange, interactions with narcissists create a one-way transfer. They take without giving back. Whether you spend an hour or a day with them, you leave with your emotional batteries completely drained, unable to focus at work, struggling to engage with loved ones, or finding yourself staring blankly at simple tasks that now seem insurmountable. Narcissists actively create situations designed to provoke emotional reactions they can feed from. They're energy hunters. They pick fights right before important events when you need your strength. They bring up sensitive topics when you're already tired. They create chaos when you're trying to relax. These aren't random timing coincidences. They're strategic moves to catch you when your defenses are down and your emotional responses will be strongest. The most unsettling aspect of this emotional vampirism is that narcissists feed equally well on both positive and negative emotions. Your admiration, love, and appreciation charge them up, but so do your anger, hurt, and fear. This explains why they seem equally content, whether they're being praised or causing pain. Both scenarios provide the emotional energy they crave. When you're happy and showering them with positive attention, they absorb that energy. Your admiration fills them with narcissistic supply, temporarily satisfying their emptiness. But positive emotions require them to maintain their charming mask, which takes effort over time. Negative emotions are often easier for them to extract. A few carefully chosen words can instantly trigger your insecurities. One cutting remark about your appearance creates hours of hurt. One mention of a past mistake spirals you into shame. These reactions provide a powerful energy fix with minimal effort on their part. This feeding pattern explains the baffling cycle many victims experience. Periods of amazing connection, followed by seemingly pointless conflict. The narcissist builds you up with validation, feeding on your joy. When that supply diminishes, they create conflict to feed on your distress instead. Then, when they sense you pulling away, they return to charm mode. The cycle continues, with you providing emotional energy in different forms. The physical toll of this energy drain is very real. Victims report extreme fatigue that sleep doesn't fix, persistent brain fog, anxiety, weakened immune function, and unexplained digestive problems. These physical manifestations are your body's response to having its energy consistently siphoned away. Your body enters chronic stress when dealing with a narcissist. The constant emotional ups and downs trigger your fight or flight response repeatedly, flooding your system with stress hormones. Over time, this stress response damages your body's natural regulatory systems, affecting sleep, digestion, immunity, and cognitive function. What drives this vampiric need for others' emotional energy? At their core, narcissists suffer from profound inner emptiness. Behind their grandiose facades, lies a void where self-worth should be. They lack internal emotional resources and turn to external sources to fill the emptiness and regulate their emotional states. This internal emptiness creates insatiable hunger. No amount of attention or emotional energy ever fills the void permanently. Like pouring water into a leaky bucket, the narcissist's supply constantly drains away, creating an urgent need for more. Narcissists particularly seek out empathetic, sensitive people who feel emotions deeply. If you're naturally compassionate and try to understand others' perspectives, you provide a richer food source of emotional reactions. Empathetic people are also more likely to keep trying to fix the relationship long after others would have given up. The cumulative effect of this energy drain compounds over time. Initially, you might bounce back quickly after difficult interactions, but as the relationship continues, recovery takes longer. Your baseline energy drops lower. Your emotional reserves deplete. Many victims reach a state where they barely recognize themselves. The vibrant person you once were seems distant. You struggle with simple tasks. Your creative energy disappears. Your ability to find joy fades. Friends comment that your spark is gone. This personality change is the natural result of having your emotional energy repeatedly harvested. This energy vampirism affects every area of your life. You have less emotional energy for others. Your work performance suffers. Your health declines. Your capacity to handle normal stress diminishes. The narcissist's feeding doesn't just take your energy momentarily, it reduces your ability to generate new energy. Narcissists experience emotions differently, lacking internal, regulatory systems. Without the ability to generate stable self-worth or manage emotions internally, they use others' emotional responses as external regulators. Your strong reactions give them something they can't create themselves: intense feeling. When you respond with admiration, anger, hurt, or love, you provide emotional intensity they absorb. Your reactions make them feel real, powerful, and alive. This understanding explains why no contact or gray rock methods work against narcissistic abuse. When you stop providing emotional reactions, you cut off their energy supply. Without your responses to feed from, they often move on, rather than changing their behavior. This feeding relationship also explains why narcissists use gaslighting so extensively. By making you doubt your reality, they amplify your emotional responses and confusion. The more disoriented you become, the more energy you expend trying to make sense of your experiences. That increased emotional output creates a richer supply for them to feed from, making gaslighting another powerful tool in their arsenal of energy extraction. Gaslighting, making you question your sanity. What if the person you trusted most was secretly trying to make you doubt your own mind? Imagine sharing your feelings with your partner, only to hear them respond, "You're being too sensitive again," or bringing up something hurtful they said yesterday, only to have them look you straight in the eyes and say, "That never happened. You must be confused." These are examples of one of the most damaging forms of psychological manipulation: gaslighting. This term describes a specific type of manipulation where someone works to make you question your reality, memory, and perceptions. The name comes from the 1944 psychological thriller Gaslight, where a husband deliberately dims the gas-powered lights in their home, while insisting to his increasingly frightened wife that the lights haven't changed at all, making her question her sanity as part of his sinister plan. When someone gaslights you, they're attempting to replace your reality with their own version. They want you to doubt what you know to be true, so you'll become more dependent on them to define what's real. It's a particularly harmful form of emotional abuse because it targets your basic ability to trust your own mind. The confusion gaslighting creates goes beyond normal self-doubt. Your brain enters a state where it can't reconcile what you know you experienced with what the narcissist tells you happened. This creates a fog of uncertainty that makes it hard to think clearly. You begin questioning not just this one memory, but all your judgments and feelings. Over time, this constant reality questioning creates profound changes in how you see yourself. You might begin to believe you're too emotional, too sensitive, or even crazy. All labels the narcissist has carefully planted in your mind. Your confidence in your perceptions erodes until you automatically defer to their version of reality, even when it contradicts what you clearly remember. Certain phrases should immediately raise red flags as potential gaslighting. "That never happened" flatly denies your experience. "You're too sensitive" dismisses your emotional reactions as problematic. "You need help" pathologizes your valid responses. These tactics shift responsibility away from the narcissist and place it on you, transforming a conversation about their behavior into a referendum on your mental stability. Consider a scenario where you clearly remember your partner promising to attend your work event, only to have them miss it entirely. When confronted, they insist they never agreed to come. As you try to recall the conversation, doubt creeps in. Did you imagine the promise? Did you communicate it poorly? This uncertainty about a recent significant memory illustrates how gaslighting erodes your trust in yourself. Narcissists employ several techniques to enhance their gaslighting. Selective memory allows them to forget things they don't want to address, while having perfect recall for anything that serves their narrative. Denial persists even when presented with clear evidence. Texts, emails, recordings, projection turns their own behaviors and feelings onto you, creating confusion that leaves you defending yourself instead of addressing their original behavior. The neurological impact of persistent gaslighting is significant. Your brain relies on consistent feedback to build accurate models of reality. When someone constantly contradicts your perceptions, your neural pathways actually begin to change. The parts of your brain responsible for memory and emotional regulation show signs of stress. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, becomes overactive, putting you in a constant state of anxiety. This neurological disruption creates symptoms similar to psychological trauma, memory problems, difficulty concentrating, chronic anxiety, or emotional numbness. These aren't signs of mental instability, as the narcissist suggests. They're your brain's natural response to having its reality constantly challenged. The disorientation victims feel resembles the effects of brainwashing techniques documented in prisoners of war or cult members. Both involve isolation from outside perspectives and breaking down confidence in personal perceptions. The betrayal becomes especially damaging because gaslighting happens within relationships built on supposed trust and love. Recognizing gaslighting is often the first step toward breaking free. When you can name the tactic, it loses some power over you. You can begin to separate the narcissist's distortions from your actual experiences. The signs that you're being gaslit include constantly apologizing for things that aren't your fault, frequently second-guessing your memories, inability to make simple decisions without validation, and making excuses for your partner's behavior. Physical symptoms often accompany these psychological signs. Tension headaches, stomach problems, and difficulty sleeping emerge as your body responds to the stress of constantly questioned reality. Many victims report feeling more clear-headed when separated from their partner, only to have confusion return when they're together again. This contrast provides important information about the source of your self-doubt. Perhaps the most reliable indicator is how questioning the narcissist reality leads to disproportionate anger or punishment. Healthy relationships can accommodate different perspectives and memories. Narcissists, however, react with rage or stonewalling when their version of reality is challenged. They can't tolerate any narrative that doesn't maintain their control or perfect image. This investment in controlling your perception stems from the narcissist's intense jealousy and insecurity. They need to manage how you see them because their fragile self-image can't withstand honest evaluation. Their fear that you might see them clearly, with all their flaws and manipulations, drives them to distort your reality before you can recognize the truth. Destructive jealousy, the root of control. Why would someone who claims to love you actively try to destroy your happiness and success? It's a question that haunts many people trapped in relationships with narcissists. You achieve something wonderful, a promotion, an accomplishment, even just a moment of joy, and instead of celebration, you face subtle undermining, criticism, or sudden drama that steals your moment. This isn't normal jealousy. Most people feel occasional pangs of envy when someone has something they want, but they still feel genuine happiness for those they care about. A friend might feel a twinge of jealousy about your new job while still being truly excited for your success. A partner might wish they had your natural talents while still proudly supporting your achievements. Narcissists experience jealousy differently. Their jealousy runs deeper and darker than normal insecurity. When you succeed or feel happy, they feel threatened by your positive experience. Your joy, accomplishment, or recognition feels like a direct attack on their sense of superiority. In their mind, your rise somehow means their fall. This threatening feeling triggers intense jealousy that quickly transforms into the need to control, diminish, or destroy whatever makes you shine. They can't stand to see you elevated because it challenges their position at the center of the universe. Your happiness becomes something that must be eliminated rather than celebrated. Their destructive jealousy operates like a dimmer switch, gradually lowering the light on your achievements until the room is dark enough for them to be the brightest presence. Initially, you might notice subtle reactions, dismissive comments when you share good news, immediately changing the subject, pointing out potential problems with your success, or bringing up their own achievements to overshadow yours. These small reactions chip away at your joy until you learn not to share your happiness with them. As the relationship progresses, the sabotage intensifies. They create crises before your important presentations, pick fights on the morning of your job interview, or forget to pass along important information you need. These aren't coincidences. They're calculated attempts to ensure you don't outshine them. A telling sign of this destructive jealousy is their inability to genuinely celebrate your achievements. They might offer a stiff congratulations or forced smile, but something feels off. Their eyes don't match their words. They quickly pivot the conversation to themselves or diminish your accomplishment with comments like, "Anyone could have done that with your advantages," or "It's not that big a deal." This reaction stems from their zero-sum thinking about success and happiness. In their worldview, there's only so much success and joy available. If you're getting some, that means less for them. They cannot comprehend that in healthy relationships, joy multiplies when shared. The methods narcissists use to undermine you are remarkably effective. They plant seeds of doubt with seemingly caring comments. "Are you sure you're ready for that responsibility?" They sabotage your support network by sharing concerns about your friends. "I noticed Sarah seemed annoyed with you." These tactics isolate you and erode your self-confidence, making you increasingly dependent on the narcissist for validation. Comparison serves as a powerful tool in their arsenal. They constantly measure you against others or themselves, ensuring you always come up short. "Jane's presentation was so much more polished than yours," or "When I was your age, I had accomplished much more." These comparisons keep you feeling inadequate and striving for approval you'll never fully receive. This constant competition reveals the truth about narcissistic jealousy. It stems from profound insecurity. Behind their grandiose exterior lies a deeply wounded sense of self, requiring constant validation. Your success threatens their carefully constructed facade of superiority. Your happiness reminds them of their emotional emptiness. Your healthy relationships highlight their inability to connect genuinely with others. Every achievement you celebrate, every moment of joy you experience, holds up a mirror to what they lack. Rather than using your example as inspiration, they feel compelled to shatter the mirror by destroying what you have. Their jealousy exposes their emptiness. Secure people with healthy self-worth can celebrate others because they don't need to be superior to feel worthy. They understand that another person's light doesn't dim their own. Narcissists, lacking this internal security, must constantly prove their superiority by diminishing others. Narcissists often target empathetic people because such targets offer several advantages. Your empathy makes you more likely to try understanding their jealousy rather than recognizing it as abuse. You naturally look for wounds behind their behavior and try to heal them. You make excuses, and your compassion keeps you engaged in trying to fix a problem that isn't yours to solve. Your empathy also makes you reluctant to celebrate yourself in ways that might make others feel bad. When they show discomfort at your success, you tone down your joy. You become smaller to avoid triggering their jealousy, exactly as they intended. These jealousy-driven behaviors create a toxic environment where you hide your successes, downplay your happiness, and isolate from people who celebrate you. You start living smaller to avoid triggering their insecurity. You might even begin sabotaging your own opportunities because the punishment for success isn't worth the achievement. This environment slowly transforms once confident people into shadows of themselves. Your diminishment becomes their elevation. Your increasing self-doubt reinforces their sense of superiority. Your isolation makes you more dependent on them for validation. The most painful aspect of this destructive jealousy is how it specifically targets what makes you uniquely yourself: your talents, passions, and joys. They seek to extinguish exactly what makes you shine most brightly. This isn't accidental, it's a calculated strategy to dim your light, so theirs appears brighter by comparison. Sexual manipulation, the ultimate control tool. What happens when intimacy becomes a weapon instead of a connection? Imagine looking forward to being close with your partner, only to realize they're using this vulnerability against you. In healthy relationships, physical intimacy creates bonds of trust and affection. With narcissists, it transforms into a calculated tool for control. Sex and intimacy should bring couples closer. They should make you feel valued, desired, and connected. But narcissists view these experiences differently. For them, physical intimacy serves as a means for power, control, and manipulation rather than mutual pleasure or emotional connection. The shift happens gradually. Initially, the narcissist appears passionate and attentive to your needs. The physical connection feels amazing, perhaps surpassing previous experiences. They seem perfectly attuned to your desires, making you feel intensely wanted. This initial phase creates a powerful bond that becomes difficult to break later. This early sexual intensity serves a strategic purpose. It establishes a standard of pleasure and connection you naturally want to maintain. Your brain releases bonding hormones like oxytocin during these encounters, creating a physical attachment to someone who will eventually use this connection against you. As the relationship progresses, the dynamics change. Physical affection becomes inconsistent. One day they can't keep their hands off you. The next they act completely disinterested or even repulsed. You find yourself working harder to recapture that initial passion, questioning what you did wrong. Imagine planning a special evening together, spending hours preparing, only to have your partner look at you with cold disinterest when you reach for them. When you ask what's wrong, they respond, "Nothing. I'm just not in the mood." Yet hours earlier they were affectionate and passionate. This roller coaster of connection and rejection leaves you disoriented and desperate to regain closeness. This pattern exemplifies how narcissists employ intermittent reinforcement in physical intimacy. Like a gambling addiction, when rewards come unpredictably, we become more fixated on them than if they came consistently. Our brains continuously seek that dopamine release, that pleasure that now seems just beyond reach. The narcissist might be passionate one day, then completely withdraw physical affection the next, without explanation. You never know which version of your partner you'll encounter: the passionate lover who makes you feel incredible, or the cold, distant person who acts repulsed by your touch. This unpredictability creates anxiety and dependency as you struggle to earn back their affection. The pattern of idealization and devaluation manifests clearly in physical intimacy. During idealization, narcissists treat you like the most desirable person alive. They compliment your body, seem addicted to your touch, and make you feel completely wanted. Then suddenly, devaluation begins. They might criticize your appearance or performance, compare you unfavorably to past partners, or display obvious disinterest or disgust. This cycle creates profound confusion and insecurity. The memory of feeling desired makes the rejection even more painful. You work harder to regain their approval, giving the narcissist exactly what they want. You're increasing effort and attention while they offer less and less. Narcissists often use sex as punishment and reward. They quickly learn that withholding physical affection causes you distress, while granting it brings relief and happiness. If you set a boundary or not given them enough attention, they might withhold intimacy as punishment. If you've complied with their demands or sufficiently fed their ego, they reward you with affection. Over time, this creates a system where you modify your behavior to earn physical connection. You become increasingly careful not to upset them. You prioritize their needs above your own. You accept disrespect to avoid rejection. Your desire for connection becomes the control mechanism they wield. Sexual triangulation represents another powerful control tactic. Narcissists frequently introduce a third party, either real or imagined, to create competition for their attention. They might mention attractive people, discuss past sexual encounters in uncomfortable detail, flirt with others in your presence, or maintain inappropriate relationships. By keeping you in a state of jealousy and insecurity, they ensure you're constantly working to prove your worth. You try harder to be sexually appealing. You accept behavior you wouldn't normally tolerate. You compete for attention that should be freely given in a committed relationship. These sexual manipulation tactics directly connect to the narcissist's need for power and dominance. Your vulnerability during intimate moments gives them access to your deepest insecurities, which they carefully note for future use. The damage extends beyond the behaviors themselves. Many survivors report feeling disconnected from their sexuality after narcissistic relationships. Intimacy becomes associated with manipulation rather than joy. Trust in your own desires diminishes. Shame emerges about what you accepted in your hunger for connection. Understanding these patterns explains why these relationships feel so confusing. What appeared as passionate love was actually orchestrated control. The inconsistency that kept you walking on eggshells was a deliberate strategy to keep you unbalanced and working for approval. These patterns create the perfect conditions for trauma bonding, a powerful attachment that keeps you connected to someone who hurts you. Your brain begins to associate the pain of rejection with the relief of reconciliation, creating addiction-like patterns that make leaving extremely difficult. This neurological response extends beyond the bedroom. Your entire nervous system adapts to this unpredictable environment, creating changes in your brain that explain why breaking free feels so impossible, even when you know the relationship is harming you. The trauma bond, your brain on narcissistic abuse. Why do so many intelligent, strong people stay in relationships that are clearly destroying them? You might look at someone suffering in a toxic relationship and think, why don't they just leave? The answer isn't about weakness or poor judgment. It's about actual chemical changes happening in the brain. Changes that create bonds as powerful as any addiction. Your brain doesn't know the difference between unhealthy attachment and love. It only knows that certain people trigger powerful chemical responses that feel impossible to resist. With narcissists, these chemical responses become even stronger because of the extreme highs and lows they create. Like a psychological roller coaster you can't get off. When you first meet a narcissist, the love bombing phase floods your brain with dopamine, the same feel-good chemical released when you eat chocolate or win at gambling. This creates a powerful high that your brain wants to experience again and again. You feel more alive, more seen, more understood than ever before. Your brain logs this person as a source of incredible reward. Then something shifts. The narcissist withdraws their affection, becomes critical, or shows coldness where there was once warmth. This sudden change triggers your stress response, releasing cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart races, your anxiety spikes, You feel physically sick with worry. Your brain goes into survival mode, focused entirely on getting back to safety, which it now associates with the narcissist's approval. When the narcissist finally shows kindness again, after a period of cruelty, your brain experiences relief that feels almost euphoric. The contrast between pain and relief creates a much stronger emotional impact than consistent kindness ever could. This is called intermittent reinforcement, and it's the same mechanism that makes gambling so addictive. Think about a slot machine. If it paid out every time, you'd quickly get bored. But because it pays out unpredictably, you keep pulling the lever, hoping for that reward. The uncertainty itself becomes addictive. Narcissists create this same pattern. They're loving today, cruel tomorrow, indifferent the next day, then suddenly attentive again. You never know which version you'll get, so you stay vigilant, constantly working to earn back their love. This creates an actual addiction cycle in your brain. You crave the dopamine high of their approval and fear the cortisol crash of their rejection. The unpredictable nature of their responses keeps you hooked, always working for that next hit of validation. As Dr. Bessel van der Kolk notes in his research on trauma, the body keeps the score, recording every emotional high and low as a physical response. Research shows that leaving an abusive relationship triggers the same brain regions as withdrawal from drug addiction. You experience physical symptoms, nausea, insomnia, anxiety, depression, fatigue. Your brain literally craves contact with the person who hurt you, even when your logical mind knows they're dangerous. Prolonged exposure to narcissistic abuse changes your brain function in measurable ways. The constant stress keeps your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, in a state of hyperarousal. Your prefrontal cortex, which handles rational thinking, becomes impaired by stress hormones. Your hippocampus, crucial for memory formation, can actually shrink under chronic stress, making you more vulnerable to gaslighting. These brain changes explain why victims often report feeling like they're losing their minds. Your thinking becomes foggy, your memory seems unreliable, your emotions feel out of control, your ability to make decisions becomes compromised. These are normal responses to abnormal levels of psychological stress. The hormonal changes explain why leaving feels physically impossible. Your body has adapted to the constant stress by releasing endorphins, nature's painkillers, to help you cope. When you try to leave, those endorphins stop flowing, and you experience physical pain and distress. Your brain interprets separation from the narcissist as a threat to survival. This powerful physiological attachment explains why victims often feel like they're dying when they try to leave. The pain isn't just emotional, it's physical. Your brain has become wired to the cycle of abuse, making separation feel as threatening as withdrawing from a powerful drug. The trauma bond also explains why outside support is so crucial. When friends or family say, "Just leave," they don't understand the powerful neurochemical bonds keeping you trapped. This misunderstanding often leads to shame and isolation. You wonder, why can't I just walk away? The answer is nothing's wrong with you. Your brain is functioning exactly as it's designed to in response to trauma and intermittent reinforcement. These brain changes connect to the spiritual and physical depletion. Many victims report the constant stress response taxes every system in your body. Your immune function decreases. Your digestive system becomes disrupted. Your sleep quality suffers. Over time, you feel empty, exhausted, and disconnected from yourself. Understanding the science behind trauma bonding helps reduce the shame and self-blame that keep many victims trapped. Knowing that your responses are normal reactions to abnormal behavior gives you permission to be gentle with yourself. As one survivor shared, "Understanding that my body was chemically addicted to the relationship finally helped me stop blaming myself for not leaving sooner." Breaking a trauma bond isn't a matter of willpower. It requires understanding the neurological processes involved and creating specific strategies to counter them. The good news is that the brain is remarkably adaptable. The same neuroplasticity that created these unhealthy bonds can be harnessed to heal them. This healing journey isn't quick or easy, but for countless survivors, freedom has come through understanding these invisible chains first. When the mind comprehends what the heart cannot accept, the path to recovery becomes clear. Though right now you may feel irresistibly drawn back to what hurts you, know that there is a way through, each step away from the addiction bringing you closer to yourself again, breaking free, reclaiming your power. What if understanding these demonic parallels is actually the key to taking back your power? When you recognize that the behaviors you've experienced aren't just difficult personality traits, but systematic patterns of manipulation, something powerful happens. The mysterious hold these behaviors have had over you begins to weaken. There's something incredibly freeing about naming what you've experienced. When you can say, "That was gaslighting," or "They're feeding off my emotional energy," you take the first step toward breaking free. These patterns lose their power when brought into the light. What once felt like an unexplainable force controlling your life now has a name, a pattern, and most importantly, ways to counter it. Breaking free from a narcissistic relationship creates actual chemical changes in your brain that make leaving feel physically and emotionally impossible. The trauma bond creates an attachment as powerful as any addiction. Your brain has been rewired to seek the narcissist's approval and fear their rejection above all else. This understanding helps reduce the shame that keeps many people trapped. You aren't stupid for staying or weak for struggling to leave. You're experiencing a normal neurological response to abnormal treatment. Understanding this doesn't make leaving easy, but it makes it possible because you stop blaming yourself for your brain's normal responses. I recently heard from Sarah, who discovered these patterns after 3 years with a covert narcissist. She described the moment of recognition. It was like someone turned on the lights in a dark room. Suddenly I could see all the manipulation tactics that had confused me for years. Within months of recognizing what was happening, I found the strength to leave. Let's explore practical protection strategies. Complete separation is most effective when possible. No calls, text, social media connections, or messages through mutual friends. Each contact restarts the addiction cycle in your brain, prolonging recovery. Think of it like quitting smoking while keeping cigarettes nearby. The temptation makes healing nearly impossible. When no contact isn't possible, shared children, work connections, the gray rock method becomes essential. Make yourself as boring and unresponsive as possible. Like a gray rock, providing no emotional reactions. Give short, factual responses without emotion. Avoid sharing personal information. Don't react to provocations or show hurt. This works because narcissists feed on emotional reactions. When you stop providing those reactions, you become a poor source of supply. Many narcissists eventually reduce contact or move on to more responsive targets when they can no longer provoke the emotions they crave. Building support networks counters the isolation where narcissistic abuse thrives. When cut off from others, you have no way to reality check your experiences. Reconnecting with trusted friends and family, joining support groups, or working with a therapist who understands narcissistic abuse provides the external perspective needed to counter the distorted reality the narcissist created. Your brain can recover, but healing takes time and intention. During the relationship, your neural pathways were shaped to respond to the narcissist's inconsistent reinforcement. These pathways don't disappear overnight, but can be rewired through new experiences and deliberate practice. In early recovery, you might experience intense cravings for contact. Your body might feel physically ill, with symptoms similar to drug withdrawal. You might struggle with intrusive thoughts about the narcissist. These reactions aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of a trauma bond breaking. Each day you maintain boundaries gets easier as your brain forms new patterns. The demonic framework provides language for experiences that otherwise seem impossible to describe. When you recognize that the eerie emptiness behind their eyes, the strange energy drain after interactions, The uncanny ability to know your vulnerabilities when you see that these experiences are real patterns. Others have also noticed. You can trust your own perceptions again. You weren't imagining things. Your intuition was trying to protect you. This awareness creates empowerment beyond escaping one relationship. When you understand manipulation tactics, you develop psychological immunity. You notice red flags earlier in new relationships. You become more sensitive to subtle forms of gaslighting. Your boundaries strengthen because you understand their importance in protecting your reality and energy. Many survivors discover they eventually become stronger than before. The recovery process builds a remarkable resilience, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence. Survivors develop enhanced ability to recognize manipulation, trust their intuition, value authenticity in relationships, and develop deeper compassion for others suffering. Understanding the demonic comparison helps you stay grounded in your reality when someone's behavior operates outside normal human patterns. This understanding helps you recognize that the problem isn't your perception, it's their behavior. You aren't too sensitive. They're genuinely harmful. You aren't overreacting. You're responding normally to abnormal treatment. Knowledge breaks the spell of narcissistic control. When you understand the tactics being used against you, they lose their power. Gaslighting only works when unrecognized. Reality distortion only succeeds when you doubt your perceptions. Emotional feeding only continues when you don't realize your energy is being drained. Naming these patterns illuminates your path forward. The obstacles don't disappear, but you can navigate around them. Find the exit and make your way to safety. This awareness becomes your most powerful protection, allowing you to reclaim your power and define your own reality once again. Recognizing these 7 demonic patterns isn't about labeling people as evil. It's about seeing clearly what's happening to you. The strange, disturbing feelings you've had weren't wrong. Your body and mind were responding normally to abnormal behavior. Now you have words for experiences that once seemed impossible to explain. The confusion when someone denied saying things you clearly heard. The emptiness you noticed during moments of supposed emotion. Your pain was a real response to unnatural behavior. Naming these patterns is like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly everything becomes visible. You've taken that powerful first step toward freedom.